All right, you've made it. It's video 6. It's the very last video, and I really have saved the very best for last. You guys are going to love it. All right, so I don't even know what to call this one. I guess I would call this one a radical on both sides plus some on that -2 right there. That's going to cause us some problems and make this one a little bit more complicated. Doesn't matter if I move that 2 to the other side, it can't be added to something that's underneath the radical. So it's kind of just stuck on the end of one of these. So we're just going to leave it right where it is. And then we're going to follow the same basic steps that we've done to get us to the solution before. That's that we're going to raise both sides to a power that's going to eliminate our radicals. What's going to happen in this case is we're not going to end up eliminating our radical on the first try. We're actually going to have to do that step 2 separate times. But you'll see these end up working out not so bad. They'll be fine. You just kind of have to stick with it through that very first FOIL that has a radical and a constant in a binomial that we have on the left hand side. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to square both sides. I'm squaring both sides because these are square roots, and I'm going to eliminate my radicals. When I square both sides on the left hand side, I end up with the square root of x plus 6 minus 2 times. On the right hand side, that's easy. We've squared the square root of x minus 2, so I just get my x minus 2 out. On the left hand side, we're going to FOIL something that has a square root term and a minus 2. I'm going to treat that square root of x plus 6 as if it was just an x. So when I multiply my first terms together, I'm going to multiply those two binomials together. So I'm going to get the square root of x plus 6 squared, because there's 2 of them. So the first term in the FOIL of those two binomials right there is the square root of x plus 6 squared. Now I'm going to do the outside, and I'm going to get minus 2 times the square root of x plus 6. When I do the inside in my FOIL, I get the same thing, minus 2 x plus 6. And then when I do my last term, I get minus 2 times minus 2, so I get plus 4. This is all still equal to the x minus 2 right there. All right, so going left to right again and doing some collecting of like terms and getting rid of the radical in that first term right there. In the first term, I've got the square root of x plus 6 squared. So in this one, I'm going to just get out. No, not get out. X plus 6. Okay, square root of x plus 6 squared is just x plus 6. These two terms right here are like terms. I can add these together because the indexes match. They're both square roots, and because the radicand matches. Kind of back to that lesson that we did in 6.2. So when I combine those two together, I have minus 4, adding the coefficients, roots of x plus 6. Still have my plus 4 equals x minus 2. One more time through on the left hand side to collect my constants. I have x plus 10 minus 4 square root of x plus 6 equals x minus 2. Now it kind of looks like something that we worked with earlier. We have a radical on one side and then we have some x's. I'm going to isolate this radical on one side all by itself. I'm going to move everything else to the right hand side, and then you're going to see that it turns into one of those problems that we've had in the previous videos. Move the x. Those x's canceled, so that worked out nice. Move the 10. I still have that minus 4 out front. We'll move that in a minute. Equal to minus 12. Okay, let's keep going. I slid that up and it kind of overlapped itself up there, but we're still at the same spot we just were. Be sure you're hitting pause if you need to catch up with me. Isolating the x plus 6 still, I need to move the 4. Take the minus with it. The square root of x plus 6 is equal to positive 3. Now, this is the most basic type of square root equation we've solved yet. Just have a square root on one side and a constant on the other. I'm going to square both sides. I'm raising both sides to a power that will eliminate my radical. I get out my x plus 6. I have the 3 squared, which is 9. Last, I'm going to get x all by itself, so I move the 6 over, and I get that x equals 3. We only got one solution for this. We're going to check it just to make sure that it works in our original. Here's my original equation. Whenever I check, I always want to make sure I plug it back into the very first equation so we didn't change anything. Plugging in a 3, I get the square root of 3 plus 6 minus 2 is equal to the square root of 3 minus 2. There's no negatives under any radicals. There's nothing that looks funny. So I've got the square root of 9, which is 3, minus 2 equals the square root of 1. So I have that 1 equals the square root of 1. I don't have a negative on the left-hand side. That would be equal to a radical. I don't have any negatives under any radicals. So this is a check. That solution does work for this problem. All right, you only have 1 or 2 of that type on the homework, but you'll definitely have something like that on your test. So make sure you go back and watch the video again if you need to see the steps again, and come see me if you need anything outside of class. I will be around Wednesday after school and Thursday after school.